Welcome. It feels like it's been so long since we've seen you all. Anyways, welcome back to the Infernal Brotherhood, the Scruffy Looking Nerf Herders. This is a live YouTube vidcast made by Star Wars fans for Star Wars fans. And today we're continuing our review of The Mandalorian with Chapter 9, The Marshal. This is a hell of a way to start a fucking season.
Yeah, dude. So
Like,
it was over a year since we saw The Mandalorian.
Yep.
And
well, almost, because the final episode ended in December.
Right. So it was like 11 months since we saw The Mandalorian. And we didn't know what to expect. We didn't know. We heard so many rumors about who was going to be appearing in different roles and what was going to happen and who was going to be what character. And there's just so much mystery. And as we're reviewing this, the season is still going, so we still don't know everything. But, you know, a couple weeks ago, this episode came out and I had to fucking talk about it. And so we decided we're going to get together and start doing these episode reviews again. What were your initial thoughts of this episode?
Jesus Christ. That was it. That was the first thing. It's just like, holy fuck. Like, okay, so here's been my biggest bitch fit about the new canon with Star Wars is they're pumping out books at almost the same rate that they used to before Disney took over. Well, before Disney took over, every single book that came out, there was a story arc that tied in with all the other books and all the movies and all that shit. And, you know, even in the cartoons, you know, we get payoff of where the stories were going with those books. But since Disney's takeover, we have got dick. Like, the only thing that we've got out of everything that's happened thus far has been Wedge Antilles showing up for like a split second in episode 9. Other than that, it's all just been like it's almost frustrating to read these books because you know they're supposed to tie in, but they don't. With this, they were like, "Hey, you know that guy you read about in 3 novels that turned out to be dope as hell? He's going to be in the screen now."
Yeah.
So that made me so fucking happy. Like, I was shaking like an idiot when he first popped on the screen because I knew exactly who the fuck he was, and I was excited to see this character.
Yeah. I mean, it's a deep pull for them to bring him out and have him be one of the main characters in the episode. Like, because, first of all, the last time people saw the armor was in Return of the Jedi. And so they're like, wait, is he alive? So if you didn't read that book, the Aftermath trilogy, you would have no idea who the fuck Cobb Vanth is. And so I just love that they did that deep pull for the fans. And it seems like this entire season, I mean, it seems like the first season was too, but this entire season so far is really for the fans. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Like, my mom is not deep into Star Wars lore like I am. She just, you know, she likes the original movies. But she loves this series. And it's so weird having my mom text me after every episode talking about the child and stuff like that. And me being able to explain to her all the, you know, character connections and backstories and stuff. It's a weird situation to be in when it caters not just to the casual viewers in such a powerful way, but also us deep lore lovers. So
well, that's the great thing about this is like how it resonates differently for everybody, but it's the same collective feeling. It's like one of my coworkers, he's a huge Star Wars fan, but he hasn't watched all the cartoons. He hasn't read all the books and shit. So, you know, there's moments that are a big fucking deal in this series, which he can appreciate because it's like, oh my God, that's so cool. But then, you know, the next day when we discuss it and I'm explaining, well, this is where this comes from in this book. This was in the comic. This was in one of the video games. You know, it just shows that it can be appreciated like on so many different levels.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a care for the storytelling, which is refreshing to see a return to.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into this episode. William, thanks for joining us, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been so long
since we've seen you. This is going to be a bunch of images as soon as I throw them up. Sorry, guys, it takes me a second. Okay. This was written by Jon Favreau, directed by Jon Favreau, released on Disney Plus on October 30th, 2020. Do you want to get into the recap?
Jesus Christ. Where do we even start? So, uh, it starts with Din and the child going into this fighting area. They're looking for somebody. Essentially what he's trying to do is find more Mandalorians to help him find a Jedi.
Mhm.
So he ends up going to, like I said, this fighting area because he was told that if he talked to Gor Koresh, he could find him more Mandalorians. And it turns out that it was a complete betrayal. He was just in it, like the Gor Koresh. He was just leading him there so that he could steal his armor.
Yeah.
And fucking John Leguizamo, for
Yeah.
Christ's sakes, John Leguizamo is in Star Wars now.
He's so great.
Like, can we just talk about how many fucking awesome people they're pulling into this just so nonchalantly and giving them throwaway roles? Like, fuck, that was cool.
I mean, Jon Favreau and Leguizamo are pals.
Yeah.
And so it seems like Favreau's just bringing in whoever is a friend and just like, hey, let's play in my backyard. Let's get the Star Wars toys and play.
That's just so goddamn crazy.
It's so good.
But yeah, so anyways, after Gor Koresh pulls his shit and Mandalorian whoops his ass, he explains, hey, okay, I'll tell you what you need to know. The last Mandalorian I saw was on Tatooine. And that's where Din is like, Tatooine, I just came from there. I didn't see shit there. And he's like, no, I swear he's there. He's there. And then it's a pretty fun death. Gor Koresh is like, just don't kill me. You promised you wouldn't kill me. You're not going to die by my hand, is what he says. And he sticks to his word. He doesn't die by his hand. I really want to know what those creatures are. Like, that is I mean, we'll get into it later, but I think that was my only bitch fit about this episode, is I want to know what those creatures were.
Huh.
So
scavengers.
Yeah,
I don't know. I loved that, and I loved how we immediately know, Din is not afraid to kill people or let people get killed, but he's going to stick to his word in whatever he was told, So if I say I'm going to protect this person, I will protect him. If I say I won't kill you, well, then I won't kill you, but I'm not going to let you just get away.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like a droid in his programming.
Oh yeah. Again, like the last episode, I think that's why him and IG-11 connected so well.
Yeah. It was so great.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just saying, so good.
Yeah, he travels to Tatooine and he meets up with the mechanic Peli Motto again. She after she oogles over Baby Yoda asking to buy him. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm kidding. Not really.
She brings out her R5D4 unit, which we've all seen before from A New Hopes. A New Hope, plural hopes. With the bad motivator, and the scarring is still right around the bad motivator port. I thought that was a great little touch for the fans. But he shows the map where he's supposed to be able to find Mos Pelgo, and it's not on the map, which there's no need not to have it on the map. I don't know why they're trying to make it this weird secretive thing. It doesn't make sense.
It's Tatooine. We accept it, especially post Empire. We just accept shit's bonkers.
But it's nice because if you only watch the movies, then you already know Mos Eisley. And so they did a call about that. But if you played any of the video games, Mos Espa is also in there. And so it was nice that they called out those two main cities from my Star Wars Galaxies role-playing game days. I was just like, it's nice. I know those locations. I've moved across that same territory. And so he ends up going to Mos Pelgo, and it's like straight out of a Clint Eastwood Western. So
it just plain and fucking simple.
Just rolls into town on a speeder bike, slow, checking everyone out, and it's cut into this sort of desert town, or almost deserted town of, the residents sort of being wary of him or curious and sort of like eyeing him. And he walks right into the bar. And he's like, do you see a Mandalorian? And he's like, what does he look like? He's like, he looks like me. He's like, oh, you mean like the Marshal? And he like points out the door, and there he is, Boba Fett's armor, standing right in front of him. Of course, he, for whatever reason, doesn't know Boba Fett, which I think may be a little weird because Boba Fett just 7 years prior was the most famous bounty hunter in the galaxy. So why would this guy, who only 7 years ago was still a bounty hunter, didn't know about him? Weird.
Yeah, hadn't quite thought of that. Well, was he a bounty hunter at that point? He might have still been training.
I mean, it's only 7 years. Like he's clearly in his 30s at least,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like he would have
I
been
don't
in
know.
his 20s. Like I feel like
Mhm.
he should know. I
Yeah,
don't know. Okay, anyway.
that's true.
But then I also think he should know about the Jedi because Luke Skywalker rescued the world by destroying the Death Star twice.
Mm.
So
Yeah, but it's also been shown, like, in the shows and the movies, like, just how quickly history gets erased,
yeah,
after big battles. So that part I can accept, but yeah, I
yeah,
hadn't quite considered him not knowing who the fuck Boba Fett was.
yeah. Well,
But
either
then
way,
again, if you think about it too, Mandalorians don't acknowledge him as a Mandalorian, so I would imagine they would just dismiss him.
right?
So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, William, to your comment there, I want to cosplay as Cobb Vanth because I
Yeah,
feel
no,
like I can pull him off.
there's plans. Trust me, it's gonna happen.
It's gonna
It's
be
gonna
great.
happen.
Okay, so we see Timothy Oliphant standing there in Boba Fett's armor, and of course it's Cobb Vanth, and he introduces himself. He asks for 2 spits of, can't remember the name of the damn liquor.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I can't.
he goes over and he takes his helmet off, and Din is like, "Oh hell no," and Cobb is like, immediately just out front with it. He's like, I bet you don't like seeing him in this armor. Like he knows that he's not a Mandalorian. He knows Mandalorians have a reputation, and so he's just being open and honest with him. He's like, look, I'm the marshal around these parts, and Din is like, take it off, give me that armor now. And he's like, hey, you may be the boss where you come from, but here in my town, I'm the boss, and I say what's what. And
So
the language
funny.
is all Western. Oh,
Uh,
I love it so much. And so we get to this really great Western standoff situation. And that's when the world just starts shaking. And Cobb is just like, hold that thought, and walks out. I thought that was such a wonderful touch. And then we get to see, which is my only complaint about this episode, is basically Tremors. Like the film Tremors. And that bugged me. And then
this is out of the fucking the video games.
crate dragons out of the video games were like giant lizards. This was like a worm.
No, they were subterranean creatures too.
Oh, really? Because
At least
like
I
the
could
video
have
games I
swore
was
they
playing,
were.
they were all like giant, like Komodo dragon looking things.
Oh.
Or at least Star Wars Galaxies was like that, and that's where it was in my head.
Yeah, see, I never played Galaxies, so I have no frame of reference.
But this was very Dune. It was very Tremors, Sandworm. It reminded me a little bit of Beetlejuice. But all of those
Yeah.
things, like the good parts of it, like I
Mhm.
didn't look at it and go, oh, that's fucking dumb. I was just like, oh, that's different. But it looked great. Like this is what we touched on in the last episode we did a review for. But the production value in the very first season was as good as we thought we could expect. But
Mhm.
however they did it, Disney must have thrown a lot of money behind it after they saw the reception of season 1 because this looks amazing. This is cinematic
Yeah.
quality.
Yeah, period. I'm pretty sure they realized that, oh, fuck, this is what's keeping our channel alive.
Mhm.
Here's more money.
Yeah, so good. So basically, Cobb Vanth is like, look, I'll give you the armor, but you got to help me get rid of this damn nuisance. This. What's so funny about it is that it's tormenting his town, and yet there's a scene later in this episode where he's like, it's not that big. Like he didn't realize how actually big this thing
Yeah.
was. That was so great. Oh,
Yeah, and then his realization when they're not fucking around was pretty funny.
So they go to travel to take out, which is so funny. They're just like, hey, the two of us can go do it. They go to take out this crate dragon, and they run across some Tusken Raiders. And we immediately see, and we've already seen that Din has an appreciation for Tusken Raiders, or at least a respect for them. But he actually speaks their language and communicates with them. And like, I love that about Din Djarin.
Mhm.
Like, I absolutely
Oh,
just,
yeah.
it's so easy because we see it in every other culture in this damn series, this entire galaxy, as it were, that everyone shits on every single species that's not their own.
Mhm.
And yet there are some people that are like, no, I have to work with them because they're going to help me get to where I need to go to. So why would I not show them respect or be
Yeah.
able to see their perspective? I love that about humanity, when you can actually have perspective. And so being able to witness him doing that, I thought was great. And then he was like,
Mhm.
look, they want to kill it too. So how about we all go together And even though Cobb doesn't trust them or like them, he's like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah.
Have
Yeah,
a
because he understands it's a nuisance for both of them.
Yeah. I buried the lead because Cobb Vanth does explain how he gets the armor.
Mhm.
So Cobb Vanth, after the Empire was destroyed, this mining guild came into the Mos Pelgo and completely took over and threw him out. And so
Mhm.
he was basically stole some money that he didn't realize was valuable. It was like gems or crystals. He stole this ice cream maker, which held them. I love that's just the new suitcase or satchel.
Mhm.
Is that ice cream
Hell
maker?
yeah.
So he stole that and was just wandering the desert and fell down. And then all of a sudden he saw Jawas come up who rescued him, gave him water, realized what he had, and they're like, "Look, we want these crystals, so whatever you want, take." And he landed on the armor that the Jawas must have found outside of the
Sarlacc
the
pit.
Great Sarlacc pit. Damn it! I was gonna say the name, but
The Great Sarlacc of Cardu.
yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
So he found it outside of that. Anyway, so that explained where he got the armor, and so everyone who thought it was Boba Fett now understands. Well, Boba Fett probably was eaten by that Sarlacc, and the Sarlacc just spit out the hard bits that it couldn't digest. Makes sense, and sets up a really great reveal at the end. And so then they go to the actual cavern where this crate dragon lives, and one of the Tusken goes up there with one of his banthas, and the crate comes out and actually eats the Tusken instead of the bantha. And so they're like, we need to regroup and rethink about this. And they're like, okay,
Yeah.
we're going to need more people. And then Mandalorian offers the residents of Mos Pelgo to actually help. Cobb Vanth is not down for it until he realizes it's the only way that they're going to be able to do this together. And so they have to go back to the town, convince all of the townspeople to help and risk their lives, because if they don't, they're not going to be able to survive out here anyway, because this damn crate dragon's taking all their damn cattle, basically.
Yeah.
They all travel. Let me know if I'm like skipping anything. They all travel
No,
back to the crate dragon, and we get to see what is the greatest live action monster battle I can think of. It was so good when they're trying to lure it out so they can explode it from underneath with these buried mines. And this crate dragon is fucking everyone up. And they're just like, I don't know how to do this. It reminded me of like a video game. And it's like a raid where just tons of players are working together trying to defeat this big bad boss guy. And they're just getting just wiped clean.
Oh, yeah.
So good. And then when it like disappears and it goes up to the top of the mountain and starts spewing stomach acid on everyone.
God, that shit was so good.
I was just like, that's such a, like, it could have been so cheesy and so sort of Game of Thronesy with a dragon breathing fire, but no, it's a gigantic worm. It has to dissolve its food, so it has acid in its stomach like we do. It can just spew it out, and just it was a logical way of explaining a sort of big creature spewing, some sort of death. Whatever.
Well, it also lends to the fact that like it was alluded to that dragon is what killed the Sarlacc pit.
Right.
So it would only make sense that it would have some sort of ability like that in order to destroy a creature that immense.
Yeah, I did like that little reveal where they're like, no, it looks more like a Sarlacc hole. He's like, whoever heard of anyone hiding in a Sarlacc hole but a Sarlacc? And they're like, oh, unless the crate dragon eats it. They're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Ooh. I like that little reveal too. And it also may explain why, we'll get into it anyway. So Cobb and Din are just like, let's go fight this thing up on the mountain. And so they're getting up there realizing they're shooting it. They can't kill it. They're flying around. This big monster's going through mountain and going through sand and rock, like terrorizing everyone. And Din's just like, watch after the child. I've got to do this. And lures the creature to eat him, which the relationship between Cobb and Din up to that point was complete distrust and then a gradual learning of respect for each other. And I loved that in the end, he realized that if this fails, I'm going to die, but it's the only way that I'm going to be able to, save this town. He could have easily just killed Cobb Vanth, taken the armor, and left. But instead, he's getting this sense of moral justice or a direction of moral right because of his exposure to the child and his need to care for it. That is
Well, and
interesting.
again, it kind of lends to just the fact that, you know, he's a man of his word. If he
Yeah,
says he's going to do something, he does it.
yeah. And I love that he trusts Cobb enough with the
Mm,
option of if he doesn't make it, then Cobb, you're a good enough man. I need you to take care of this child.
mm.
Like I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, he didn't really
Oh,
have much options at the point anyway,
yeah.
but
Yeah, that's true.
still, I liked it. And then the Krayt Dragon swallows him. He explodes him from the inside, flies out. It's nice to see that stomach acid didn't eat through the Beskar armor. Although I would argue his cloth armor should have been marked up.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, it should have been at least a little bit.
Yeah. Or he should have some superficial burns or something from the acid getting between the. I don't know. There should have been something. Anyway, it was badass looking. So I was very excited watching this goddamn episode. And then he collects up the armor from Cobb Vanth because the town is now saved, and Cobb has no problem giving it over because he just helped him. You know, he's holding up his end of the bargain just like Din did. And takes a big slab of meat, which I thought was great. And the Tusken Raiders reveal this really deep dive into lore of the Krayt Pearl.
Yep, that was such a big deal. It's like they're already, because I mean, of course, Krayt dragons are nothing new. Like we get those in the first movie, but yeah, for them to be scavenging the carcass and find the pearl, that was like, you guys, I see what you did there.
Yeah, they used the pearl in the Knights of the Old Republic role-playing games, and then they used it in Star Wars Galaxies as, I think it was an option to make a lightsaber with it in the MMORPG. But it's just cool that they added that in. That's all. Another little interesting tidbit is Cobb Vanth's speeder bike is Anakin's engine from
Yep.
episode
Yeah,
1.
had an argument about that when this episode first came out. It's like, no, that's his fucking speeder bike. Like,
that's it.
And it's like, all he did was it's missing one of the fins and it's upside down, but that's his fucking pod.
Yep. I just love those little callbacks because they don't mean anything. It's not trying to make any absurd connections. It's just Cobb Vanth. When you're on Tatooine, you scavenge in order to survive, and that's what he does. And I love it.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. And then we get to see that final scene as Din Djarin is going back to. I can't remember where he met the mechanic. What was that? Mos Eisley that he was in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's going back to Mos Eisley, and we see a lone individual just standing there, silhouette, turns around, and it's the guy who played all the clone characters.
It's the Bubbly Fett.
And the presumption that I'm assuming, and everyone is assuming, is that, yeah, he's playing Boba Fett. He's
It's fucking Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
He's all scarred up. And do you think we're going to see Boba Fett in any way in this series again?
Maybe. Well, no, okay. This season, maybe, but I really believe he will be back in the series, because if they're not going to show him again, that was pointless and stupid, and it's going to piss everybody off. Yeah. Like, there has to be some sort of payoff for that.
Yeah.
Because that's a big fucking deal. Like, that is showing us, because it was argued after, the Legends became Legends, that Boba Fett's dead.
Yep.
He didn't come back, because in Legends we all know he did, and he was the fucking Mandalore at one point. So yeah, if they don't bring him back, at least to show something, like, it's gonna be infuriating.
Yeah, the rumors that I've heard is that it's going to be a prequel limited series explaining how he survived.
I'd be fine with that too.
Yeah, so it'll be before that, like what he's been doing, or how, there he is on the screen. So I think that's interesting. I don't need a lot more than that. It seems like the way that it's set up, it seems like he was just witnessing where his equipment went, and he's turning away from it all and saying, I'm going to live my own life. Like, that's the vibe I got. I didn't get this, I'm going to go after him vibe,
Oh, yeah, no, definitely not.
I am interested, because what are they going to do with that armor? Like, what is he just going to tote it around in the Razor Crest until he runs across the armor, and then he's going to give it to the armor to be melted down? Like, what do you think is going to happen to it?
Honestly, I think it would be probably that. Like, nothing super super big dealish. It'd just be like a way for him to make new armor, or maybe we'll get some foundling armor out of it.
I was gonna say, what if
Like
that's Baby Yoda's armor?
that would, I would lose my shit.
That would be awesome. That would be so badass. I want to see Baby Yoda in Mandalorian armor so bad.
Mm.
I've seen some, we've seen artwork for it. I've seen people
Oh, of
do
course.
like armor for the dolls that have come out for Baby Yoda.
I've thought about doing it.
Ugh, so
Like
good.
I got so much ABS in my garage. It's like I could suit him up.
It'd be so damn cool. But that was it. So what was your favorite moment of this?
Fuck, that's a tough one. Because I mean, the reveal of Cobb Vanth, like that was a big deal. Because of course, like I knew immediately who it was. Like you and I both read the Aftermath series, so it wasn't a oh my god that might be Boba Fett. No, it was holy fuck that's Cobb Vanth. So that was a big deal.
Yeah.
The reveal of who was playing him was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
The final scene of the Crate Dragon where they're scavenging through, his guts and shit, like that was a big deal. I guess if I had to pick one, like my favorite moment would be the reveal of Boba Fett. Like we finally have the definite answer. Did he survive? Did he die?
Yeah.
So that was a pretty big deal.
That was just so great. My favorite is definitely the Cobb Vanth reveal of him standing in the doorway, Western style, walking in, getting the drink Western style, sitting down, getting threatened by the newcomer in town, and then just that standoff. Like that whole sequence right there was so good. I just loved it so much. And Timothy Olyphant, he plays this type of a character a lot. He did it in the Crazies remake. He did it in Deadwood. He did it in Justified. I mean, this is his bread and butter type of role, the Marshal, as it were. And so he was just fucking great. But as a character actor, I think he's one of the better ones that is just underrated. He was in Scream.
Oh, absolutely.
He was in his own series with Drew Barrymore that I can't think of the damn name of right now on Netflix. That was hilarious and great. So it was like
Santa Clarita Diet.
Yes, thank you. Which is fucking fantastic. I hope they do a third season someday. But
that won't happen. But yeah, that was.
I love him so much, and it was just so nice to see Din connecting with someone else in a mutual respect way, working together toward a mutual beneficial end, and then he just goes on his way. I don't know. It was I thought it was such a wonderful easing in to a new season where they amped up the action, they amped up the graphics, they amped up the scope a little bit, and it just felt good. I know a lot of people complained after this episode aired that it was a filler episode. And
they can fuck off.
Exactly. I'd say fuck you, because that was great.
The only filler, like, there was arguably one filler episode this season, and even then, it's
it is personally, but
hardly a filler episode.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, first season, I feel like it had filler episodes. This one, I'm not seeing it yet. Like even the one that everyone said is a direct filler, I loved. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
So I have no complaints about it at all in this season so far. Least favorite moments of this episode?
And it's not because it was bad. So let me just preface it this way. But when Cobb Vanth hands over the armor, it's like, that's it. We are not getting any more of that character.
Yep.
So that was a shame.
Yeah.
But it was also, as a fan of the books, because it honestly, like, I consider Aftermath, like the Aftermath trilogy, the last good books that got produced.
Yeah.
That got pumped out the Disney machine. Because I mean, some of them are fun. Like I haven't read the new Thrawn, but the original Thrawn trilogy, it was fun, but it wasn't amazing. It was Disney saying, "Oh yeah, why don't you go ahead and produce that character that you created, but don't do anything with them."
Yeah,
and that's exactly what it felt like. But Aftermath, like, that was a proper Star Wars trilogy. So this was just a nice little end cap to it to say, "Hey, see, we remember we made those books."
Yeah.
So
I loved it. I thought it was so good. My least favorite has to be the exact same thing. Is that we know we'll never see this character again, and he was so much fun when he was in there doing his thing. So, but whatever, that's the galaxy. You run across great characters and you move on, and so far we've done that a lot, and it's I'm still not disappointed yet. So
yeah, absolutely.
What were your hopes after you watched this for what was going to be second episode of season 2?
It's just seeing where it was going. I mean, it's the first episode of the season, so of course we really don't know where any of it's going. We know that his quest is to ultimately find a Jedi to pass along the child, because that's what he was told to do. So it was just seeing where that went, figuring out how they were going to do it, because of course with spoilers and all that shit, we all knew that Rosario Dawson was cast, and there had always been talks about her. If there was ever going to be a live action Ahsoka, it would be her. So we knew at some point she was going to come about. But yeah, I just was looking forward to seeing where it went.
Yeah, I was completely like hands in the air, because like he was looking for a Mandalorian in order to find other Jedi to bring the child to the Jedi. But now, if that's the only, he went to a gangster from the underworld in order to find this sole Mandalorian, who ended up not being a Mandalorian. What the fuck is he gonna do now? I was thinking they're gonna have to make up some stupid shit in order to get him to find a Jedi now. Like he's just gonna run across one or something, which is dumb. Because at this point, since we left the last season of him supposed to be finding the child's people, and we start this season with him trying to find a Mandalorian, I was a little bit confused and like, well, why the fuck is he looking for a Mandalorian? He's a bounty hunter. He should be able to find the child's people if anyone can. And so after this episode, I was on a high from everything, but I was like, what the fuck are they going to do now? And that's what I love most about this second season, is that you're kept guessing the entire time.
Yeah.
You have no idea what's going to happen. And I love it. So good.
Definitely.
All right. Well, that's it for this episode. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Nah, we covered it pretty well.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in, both live and in chat or after the fact. We invite you to subscribe to this channel and click the little bell to get notified about our next video. We also have a storefront for all of the Scruffy Looking Nerf Herder merch. The link is in the description below. So until we convene again, may the Force be with you. I almost said the other one. May the Force be with you.
Wherever I go, he goes.
Oh, yeah.
That's mine.
What's up, Princess Moon? Princess Moon.